Southern New England better brace themselves for wind chill at -5 degrees and frigid air as the nor'easter makes its way up the coast. Temperatures for this record-setting day will be around 15 degrees, dropping into the negatives overnight. Though the snow is going to pile up on this one, good news is that in the next 2 days it will all melt, with temperatures skyrocketing to a sunny and bright 50 degrees. That was a typical day at home in Weymouth, Massachusetts. One day the sky would be as blue as humanly possible, and within an instant, it could change. We got everything from blizzards to torrential downpours, sun, hurricanes, and even more obscure weather such as thunder snow. Every morning, my dad, my sister Steph, and I would intently watch the forecast for an approximation of the weather for the upcoming days, knowing that for the most part the weather would still have a mind of its own. My sister took more of a liking to the weather, which is why it shouldn't have been a surprise after all those years, when she went to college to study meteorology. I was excited by the fact that I might one day be able to watch my sister on TV, as she broadcasted the weather in front of the green screen, using her hands to tell viewers exactly where the storm was coming from. To say the least, she and I were mistaken about the easiness of the job, and 4 years later, she can finally tell the tale of her experiences. This is her first-hand account of what the past 4 years as a meteorology major entailed. A graduating senior who will shed some light on the credibility of the so-called fake major.
Meteorology is the study of the atmosphere, and it's the weather processes and forecasting.
Her journey from a small town in Massachusetts to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte was a metaphoric roller coaster. She was exposed to new Southern culture, new rigorous classes, and thousands of other students, each with their own opinion on what her meteorology major stood for.
It's mostly science and math classes, multiple levels of calculus and physics, as well as a whole bunch of meteorology classes like forecasting, dynamical meteorology, which is the numbers game sort of, and it's all to do with statistics, as well as synoptic meteorology, which is larger scale forecasting for hurricanes, tornadoes.
When my sister left for college, I was in the 9th grade. I was oblivious to the whole concept of college and didn't understand the full spectrum of her major. Apparently, neither did she.
I didn't know a whole lot about meteorology. You just see forecasters on the Weather Channel and what they're doing up there. I thought it was a lot simpler of a science. I was mistaken.
Massachusetts and North Carolina are 885 miles apart. Steph gives us the details about what her friends and teachers thought about her journey across the Mason-Dixon line.
My advisor was very surprised when I came to him and said that I wanted to be a meteorology major. Not a lot of people knew a whole lot about it like I didn't. It was kind of a shock and a surprise that I would go into a field that nobody really knew a whole lot about.
Here comes the big question. But what do you think that others think about you being a meteorology major? Do you think that they know a lot, or do they not know really anything at all?
Since not a whole lot of people major in meteorology, it's a very small percentage, I think, in college. I've heard everything from, you look at the clouds and you come up with a forecast, or, you just stand up there and point at the map and say, this is going to rain, this is going to snow, or they think my career, I can be wrong all the time and still get paid, so it's a great career because I never have to be right. And it's not the truth. That's not the truth.
An article that I found online gave a list of 10 worthless college majors. Based upon what people said about her major, I was surprised to find that not only was it not on the list, but that my major was. Among communications, some of the others included film, Latin, dance and music therapy, American studies, and philosophy.
I don't think people think it's an unrealistic major, but, like you said, it's usually the first thing people watch in the morning is the weather. What's the weather going to be like? And they base their day off of what the meteorologist says. But, like I said before, I think people just don't know as much about the subject as they should. I think probably some people believe that it's not a real science major like a bio or a chemistry, but I know it's real. 4 years I've, struggled to figure a lot of things out, so I think it's real.
The portion that I was trying to get at was that her major, like any other, involved a skill.
We look at many different parameters in the atmosphere: temperature, dew point, what happens on the surface, what you see outside, to what happens, thousands of feet above your head in the upper atmosphere. And we have to take into consideration all of those parameters at once, look at models that the computer outputs, and come up with our own forecast as accurately as we can. Some days we're going to be way off. Some days we could be spot on. Like I said before, none of us are Mother Nature. We're not psychics. We can't know what's going to happen in the future. All we can do is predict, and that's why, it's called forecasting. We're predicting the weather as best we can.
Real major or fake major?
Yeah, I think it's a real major.
Steph agrees that no one is 100% correct all of the time. But the key to the whole thing is that a technique is involved, just like the other worthless majors on the list. Dance may seem easy to some, but in the long run, not everyone can dance. Meteorology may seem easy just from its outward appearance, but there is more than meets the eye behind the scenes. The only question that remains is what we consider worthwhile and what constitutes a technique. Personally, I have to agree with Steph on this one. The list even puts communications as a major that has no value, but I would have had to have a technique this far into the interview. Keep that in mind the next time you think poorly of someone's educational choices, or in the words of Bewitched, when you blame it on the weatherman.